We're live! Hi everyone, welcome to another live reality game show podcast. I somehow managed to get him out of hiding from the Meghan Mafia. It's Ian, the editor, Survivor Michigan. Hey Ian, how's it going?
Hello. It's going well. Happy to be here. I have, avoided a couple of different attempts on my life this week as a result of the Meghan Mafia, as you say. But I'm doing well. Doing well.
Yeah, glad to hear that. There's currently people with pitchforks and torches outside his building.
That's correct. I've been doing only like food delivery. I haven't breathed air in about a week ever since it happened, just because you never know when one of Meghan's
Yeah,
many fans could strike from the shadows.
he goes out with a mask and hat, not because of COVID, but for to hide his identity.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, with that, let's talk about this episode and kind of since we haven't had you on since the controversial cliffhanger episode, kind of like talk about this episode and kind of recap the whole Act 2 section of the merge into Act 3. So, watching this live, were you kind of surprised with what happened and it being Megan who got sent home in eighth again?
Well, most of the when this was happening, most of the day we thought it was going to be Cooper. And I was annoyed because the first time we thought it was going to be Cooper was the double tribal, and that was the first tribal that I couldn't go to personally. And the second tribal I couldn't go to personally was actually this tribal. And so it kept just seeming to happen that every time it was about to be Cooper, I was not going to be there, which is driving me crazy because I really wanted to see Cooper get voted out. Um, so I was happy that it didn't end up being Cooper because I was going to be really pissed if I missed that. Um, but most of the day, well, this week was only 2 days long. The challenge occurred on, I don't remember what day of the week, but 2 days later
I
was
think it
tribal
was a
council.
Sunday.
Yeah, so I guess by Tuesday it was tribal. And for most of
Wow.
those 2 days, it seemed like it was Cooper. It seemed like everybody in the game wanted Cooper out. Uh, how Cooper got Andrew pissed off with him this week to the point that Andrew was fine voting him out, I'll never fully understand. But at a certain point, everybody was down to vote him out. The issue was just paranoia about idols, paranoia about who Andrew's going to give the necklace to. And it slowly things spiral out of control. Meghan tells Cooper it's him. Chaos ensues. Um, and I was surprised when I heard that it was becoming too much for production to follow. Like people were meeting at different houses. Nobody was telling us what was going on. I don't think production knew who was going home at this tribal council at all. I remember going into it hearing like it's going to be Cooper if Cooper doesn't get the necklace. Otherwise, it might be a tie. And so like I think we were as confused as anybody that it was not that Meghan just voted on her own.
Yeah, it definitely was a wild triborough, and Cooper not getting any votes except for Emily's, which got canceled.
Yeah, I think you can actually hear during her like post vote off final confessional, you can hear Matthew saying to Meghan like, "Why didn't you just vote for Adam?" Because at that time, I think even Matthew and I didn't know that she hadn't been informed of the plan. We were just like, "Did Meghan just vote herself out? Like, what's going on? Why did she vote for Sam when no one else voted for him?" It
Yeah,
was only afterwards that we slowly pieced together what had happened.
yeah, that the fact that nobody told Megan anything,
Yep.
like her allies didn't tell her anything for maybe because there just wasn't time. But come on,
Uh,
people, you
no, that's not I mean, I don't think time is the excuse. I
yeah, I don't think so.
to
Like you
this
can
day,
easily get up in tribal and just whisper to Megan, "Hey, vote Adam."
a lot of different people involved in this vote will argue that it was someone else's fault that Meghan was not told. um, but I think that part of what it comes down to is that ultimately they didn't fully trust her. Like she had just leaked the Cooper plan, and there was rumors that she was still tight with Sam and Adam in some capacity. Um, and there people just didn't trust her to vote Adam. They thought that her and Adam were secretly really tight.
Yet they trusted Adam to vote Megan.
Well, it's two different groups of people, right? So Cooper and Andrew and Bailey don't trust Adam at all. They're in fact voting him out, right? But Leia and Sam do trust Adam, so they tell him it's Meghan. It's a complex web of relationships.
I feel like now this could just be the viewer opinion that's coming out of me, but I feel like so many things could be simple if people just go and talk to each other and just tell people their I'm going to about to say tell people their plans, but tell because that can easily backfire. Because I was talking to Emily a few days ago about how she could have not been voted off if Sam, Adam, and Megan gone to her and say, Cooper slipping on you, we don't want you gone, would you vote Bailey with us to make it a 4-3-2?
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then
I think it's kind of odd that Adam, in all of that flip, doesn't tell Emily anything. It's an odd moment for sure in the Adam and Emily relationship because Adam and Emily got pretty close, and I think that Emily definitely saw Adam as one of her closest people. And she's even though she's not talking about the idol and stuff, she's still like he should be able to tell that she still really trusts him, and is telling him enough to tell him that she's gonna make this big move and she has some kind of plan. And I kind of get why he doesn't trust that, but it's also better than her not saying anything. And I feel like I don't know. I definitely think there is a scenario where they could have gone to Emily and flipped it some different direction that week.
yeah, she said
Cooper
had
also
she
has said
been
that if Cooper knew that Emily was like jumping at the bit to flip, he might have approached her about flipping the week before, the week that Sarah went out. He just had no idea she wanted to flip.
yeah, I talking with her, she mentioned a lot on how the one thing that was like drilled into her head was like don't tell anyone about idols because it will fuck you over, and that was going to be the big thing she was going to reveal to Adam in the plan, but then she was like no, and then we saw what happened, and we saw the aftermath of what happened, and I want to say it was like a good 10 to 15 minutes of just pure bad girls club.
I think it was like, yeah, in real life it was like something like 30 or 40 minutes. Um in the show it was like 15 minutes, I think, of just people just going at each other. And this was the most uncomfortable I ever was on production, like of filming. Like there was times when people in the cast when this was all going on in the post Emily scram, there was people asking me to turn off the cameras. People in the cast were asking at various points, "Could we just stop? Could we just turn off the cameras?" And I kind of refused. I was unhappy with the amount of footage we had gotten at the Double Tribal. I had heard that there was all these people crying, and there was like rumors about Lucy puking and stuff.
Oh,
And I felt like they didn't do an adequate. I wasn't there, and I felt like didn't adequately capture the way it was described to me. And so I had was like, all right, if we get one of these big blowups after Trump again, we're not turning off the cameras. So
no, it's like fuck your
yeah,
feelings.
yeah, pretty much is what I said. I was like, sorry guys, this is a TV show. We're keeping the cameras rolling. You can thank me later when you're happy we have this footage. But in the moment, people
Yeah,
were not happy.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
not so happy that they took a 2 day break of just not talking.
yeah, I actually remember there was brief discussions of calling off the game at this point, because there was, uh, at least half of the cast was not on speaking terms for about 3 days, refusing to talk to each other, saying, I'm pretty much done. I'm cooked. And a lot of us were thinking, this isn't going to be the end of this. Like, there's only going to be one winner. So, like, most of the rest of these people are still going to get voted out. And how much worse is this going to get? And it's getting to the point where people are, a lot of these people are friends. And at a point, it's like, is this game worth destroying all these people's friendships over? Like, maybe like for a TV show that a couple thousand people watch on YouTube, and at that time less than that. Season 1 and 2 uh, definitely didn't get as many viewers, and those are the only ones that were out as this season has. So at the time it was kind of like it was an open question, like should we just like sit everybody down, be like this has gotten a little out of control, and like maybe just call it off. Like that was discussed. um I'm glad that didn't happen, and ultimately in the long run of real life, most people were able to work through this, but it was a really, really ugly time period.
Yeah, I feel like if it was canceled, people looking back being like would probably regret it. It'd be more like an in the moment decision, and then maybe like a week later they'd be like, "Oh no, okay, maybe we kind of overreacted a little on the severity of this." And at the end of it, these people are people; they're not game bots. Well, unless they're
Yeah,
Cooper.
I mean, people have school also, and like there's a million other things going on, and this is coming up on exam period also, where we're at in the time frame of the semester. And so it's just like I don't think the game ever got like actually close to being canceled, but it that was just something that was like said out loud. Like it was at least discussed in some capacity. Um, I mean, we weren't sure if a lot of these people were even going to start talking to each other again. They were just refusing to talk. It was like, okay, like if we're sending messages in the group chat saying, all right, what time are you guys available for the next challenge, etc., and people are just like not even responding, it was like, all right, we have to move forward with this somehow.
Yeah.
But
Good thing
eventually
the next
people
challenge.
mellowed down.
Good
We had
thing that.
loved ones, a perfect time for
Yeah.
loved ones, you know. You
Yeah,
get
I was going to. We get the Love One challenge, and I'm going to ask, like, so how did this challenge be? The idea of a Love One challenge become a thing? Because I know it was a season 2 thing, and I'm always sitting here like, this seems super awkward.
I mean, it was a season 2 thing, and we thought it was really fun, and we liked it, and so we were like, all right, let's do it. A lot of things we did in All Stars were trying to bring back the best parts of previous seasons, and I think we all thought the Loved Ones challenge was just fun. Um, One thing actually that I wanted to talk a little bit about was there was some chaos around the Loved Ones and who was allowed to be invited to Loved Ones.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, if you've seen the Jackson interview, well, the
I
live
have
Jackson
a
interview,
wonderful interview, top tier.
yes, if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? It's pure gold.
Yeah, it's very
There was a
entertaining.
clip. There was a clip that was cut out of the end portion, so if people were wondering why it was taken down, no, it's not because production asked us to. It's because there was a certain clip in there that kind of gave a bit of a spoiler, which was Jackson wasn't allowed to be Megan's loved one, which insinuates Megan made sick to the loved one's visit.
Right. Yeah. I asked
So,
you guys to cut that clip just because I didn't want it spoiled that Megan, like every episode that doesn't have loved ones in it, you would know that Megan is still not gonna is gonna be fine, right?
yeah. So, now that we have loved one visits, why wasn't Jackson allowed?
So if it was up to me, so here's what happened was there was a lot of people who wanted to bring more former cast members and types of people. Like you see earlier in this episode that Jack Tiggleman was around this weekend, and
Yeah, love you, Jack.
So Sam wanted to bring Jack Tiggleman as his loved one. And the issue was that Jack was technically on the alumni advisory board for the season, which meant he was in all the group chats and stuff. So the idea was that Jack, and he like knew what the challenge was, I guess, technically, because it was, he had access to that stuff. So it was like Jack can't come because he knows too much. Now Jack wasn't really paying any attention to any of these threads he was in or whatever, because he's like graduated and he really wasn't paying attention to it. So it was like, all right. They were saying that they didn't want Jack to come. Megan wanted to bring Jackson. The issue was that Bailey, so Bailey originally wanted to bring Noah, and everyone was like, okay, we probably can't do that because again, like he's basically on production, and yeah. Um, then she was like, okay, well then I bring Abby, my roommate, and production was also like, we're not so sure about bringing Abby because she's already caused all these problems. Now, from my point of view, I was actually advocating for both Jackson and Abby being allowed to come because I believe in the rule of good TV. So I was just like, this is going to be firecrackers. Like, let's see it. Let's see it. And nobody else on production was down for that. And yeah, they were like, they'll wreck the challenge. It'll be chaotic. I was like, what can they do though? It's like an egg toss.
It's
Like,
throwing eggs. What
that's what
can
I
you
was
do?
saying.
What they
They're
throw the
like,
egg at each
they're
other?
I don't know. They were like Jackson or Abby will try to like sabotage the challenge. And I was like, the only way they could do it would be sabotaging either Bailey or Megan, in which case that's on Bailey and Megan for bringing them if they do that. And that's funny. And besides that, if it's going to be them like yelling at each other or something, like again, this seemed like good TV to me. But production was so like at this point, production was so like become like a turtle shell and was so afraid of the cast, honestly, like coming at us for more perceived mistakes and was so afraid of both Bailey and Megan yelling at us if either Abby or Jackson was allowed to come. So we just were like, yeah, no Abby, no Jackson, and no
Noah.
we said no nobody involved in All Stars, like no players from the pre-merge. Even though I think that would have been good TV. Like as an audience, you don't know most of these loved ones. So it seemed to me that we should be advocating for as many former Survivor Michigan people as possible to come. I feel like that would make the most sense. So I was down for Abby. I was down for Jackson. And I was down for Jack Tiggleman also. I was like, let's just announce the challenge. That'll solve the problem of Jack Tiggleman knowing what it is. Let's just announce what the challenge is. It's just say
Yeah.
it's an egg toss. What does it matter? You can't like
Plus,
practice an egg toss that much.
yeah, it's like not knowing what the challenge is can have an effect, but if it's literally just tossing an egg and making sure it doesn't crack, like I don't know, maybe he'll bring gloves to soften the blow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I was outvoted on this one, and none of those people were allowed to come. But honestly, I guess it's fine that Jackson couldn't come because we got Camila in there instead. So
Yeah,
like Camila wouldn't have come if Jackson had come. So you win some, you lose
yeah.
some, you know.
Those people that were saying we want Camila on All Stars, look, she's on All Stars. She's in 2 episodes.
Right? Yeah, we got two. We got Camila in 2 episodes of All Stars. You know, that's two more than zero.
Yeah. We
Right?
also got we also got the revisit of the Puzzler
Of
in May.
course. Oh, the Puzzler. How could you not have the Puzzler? Big episode for season 4.
Yeah, a lot of season 4 people coming back
Mm-hmm. Nate,
to make up for the lack of
Camila.
season 4 people in the season.
Yeah, well, Nate didn't apply for All Stars, but I would have
I
loved
don't
to
even
see
think
Nate back.
yeah, I did not expect him to apply or be cast.
I feel like Nate would have had a shot if he had applied. I don't know.
Really, production would have had to deal with his schedule 2 seasons in a row.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That could have held him out single-handedly, actually. Nate's just really funny though. I would have wanted to cast him. But I wanted to cast
Well,
everybody, so I'm like maybe not the best person to ask.
you wanted a cast of like how many people have played? Like
25.
of
I wanted to cast of
25.
25. Yeah. It would have been fine. It would have been fine. The episodes would have just been like 6 hours long instead of like 3 hours long. It would have been fine.
Yeah, I mean, if we can sit through 3 hours of Real Survivor or wait 3 hours for a real show, we can watch a YouTube series. This we can skip all the boring parts.
Yeah, so that was Loved Ones. But yeah, so yeah, there was a little bit of controversy with it. I think it would have been good TV if Jackson and Abby had been allowed to come, but yeah, the production was just like, let's avoid more drama. Let's avoid
Yeah.
more. And this is also coming right off the back of the Emily B tribal council, and everyone's been mad at each other, and people were just like, we just don't want any more problems. Like, let's just try
If
and
you don't
keep
want any
calm.
more problems, why did you cast these people?
Everybody was getting kind of worn down by this point, okay?
I mean, even the audience is kind of being like, okay, we get it. You people are friends. You don't want to vote each other off. Big whoop, get to the point. It's like when you hear it the first few times, like, oh, it's so emotional. But when you hear it the 16th time, it's just like, okay, we get it. Because I was asking in like the Discord, it was like, I don't remember what the context was. I think people were talking about Andrew and how he's going to win. And I was just like, eh. It's like people always talk about him being cocky. And it's like, oh yeah, I must have mistimed the confessionals because I skipped through them because I hear the same things over and over again, which is not on you. It's on these people for just saying the same things over and over
Well,
again.
you're skipping through the episodes? What is this? What kind of fan are you?
I have I had to watch these right before I had to head to college or work, so I kind of just skipped through. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. Andrew, you think you're gonna win. Leia, you hate everyone. Bailey, you're crying. Cooper, you're game body. Adam, you're Sam's puppet, or not Sam's puppet. Yada yada.
When you have more time, you should go back, and watch all the very important scenes you missed. I'm sure there's a lot of juicy nuggets that you missed probably.
Yeah, I'll do a binge of the season and just never skip an entire section.
Exactly. Because every single line, is critically important to the overall narrative. So you really won't get the full experience if you skip even a single second of the season.
Yeah, I will
All
never
the
figure
bonus
out.
scenes, the bonus scenes also, you really need to watch it actually, with the bonus scenes as well to really get the fullest picture.
Yeah, after every episode, I'll watch their respective bonus scene. Those I don't skip because those are just for fun.
That's funny. We haven't had one of those in a while, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the last one is like episode 5.
Episode 6 had it.
Oh,
I'll
episode
get them
6.
out for all of them eventually. I'm focused on the finale right now and making sure it is tip top.
Yeah, we're
So,
waiting for our 2.5-hour finale.
yeah. No promises on the length of the finale.
I don't know if this is a spoiler question. If it is too revealing, you don't have to answer. But is the finale going to be like Final Five, Final Four, Final Tribal, or like usual Survivor?
It'll start at Final Five.
Okay, so it'll be like the Final Five, the Final Four, and then the Final Tribal is all one episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Or Final Three, Final Two, we don't know.
Don't know. It'll start at final. It'll start at Final Five. I mean, I think that it's fairly obvious if it's a Final Three or Final Two at this point, but I don't know. I
I
feel like
mean,
that has been pretty heavily implied in the episodes.
you guys could introduce a vote a jury off twist. That was a thing.
Are you ever watching Australian Survivor?
Of course, I have. I mean,
I just watched the
hey,
finale yesterday.
yeah. Hey, Thal, who won Survivor Australia? It's Liz.
Spoiler to Survivor Australia. I do not understand the edit of that show at all. So if you had told me like halfway through the season that Liz was going to win, I would have said top tier, amazing season. But then after Shawnee went out, she dropped off the map as she was barely in the show anymore. So I was just I was like, what the hell? Like,
oh yeah, Australian Survivor editing is terrible.
I was so confused. I was convinced that George was just going to win because I was like, he's the only person even being shown. Like, I don't even like George, but I almost was disappointed he didn't win because it felt like the last 4 or 5 episodes, like nobody else was even on the show really.
How
So
many
I don't
Australian
know.
Survivor seasons have you seen?
This is the second season I've seen. I've seen the one I've seen Blood vs. Water also.
Ooh, that was a bad season.
Yeah. So I've seen that one and this one, but I might have to go back and watch the one that Haley and George were on originally, just so I can see Haley win.
Yeah, that's the one before Blood versus Water, Brain
I
versus
might have to
Brawn.
go back and watch that one just because I'd like to see George get his comeuppance, and I don't feel like it was justly deserved in this season.
If you think the editing is bad in those seasons,
I did think the editing was bad in this season. I was just like, why is it not more balanced like at all? It's like I saw a confessional counter that was like George had like 60% of the confessionals for the entire season. It was
he
completely
has the
insane.
most confessionals in all of Survivor history.
That doesn't shock me at all. There's whole episodes that are only him, basically.
Yeah, and you think that's Matt in Heroes versus Villains? You should see Brain versus Brawn.
Why do they do it that way? Why did they not give Liz more content? I don't understand that.
No one knows. Like, there are seasons where people
I
get voted off.
loved her in the first half. She was hilarious. I was really loving her. If you had told me she wins, I'd been like, this is a top tier season. But because she didn't get any screen time in the back half, I found myself being somewhat underwhelmed by her victory.
I mean,
Even though originally I was a big fan.
There's people who get voted off and they don't get a single confessional the entire season.
Yeah, that sucks. I feel like that does happen in CBS occasionally too. Not as much anymore.
Yeah, but they'd at least get one random confessional in their vote off episode, but there's people who just like they don't get a single one.
Yeah.
I mean, Blood versus Water are a good example how one person got no confessionals up until the merge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, enough about Australian Survivor. Now back to Survivor Mission. This is like kind of like if you when you're editing season 2, focused everything on Nick and maybe showed 1 or 2 of Mallory and Mallory wins.
Yeah,
If
that
that
is
was
a
like
little
your
bit
editing
what
style.
that's a little bit what the Australian season was like. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So just
if you're watching Michigan All Stars, you understand that I'm just like I'm the complete opposite. I'm like trying to give every player as much content as physically possible, basically.
yeah, you're at least trying to give people these 2 confessionals.
Yeah, I don't think everyone should have probably way more than that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and there's people like really trying to read into the edit, even though it's been said how many times there's no winner edit.
I love that people are reading into it. I mean, every season has a winner edit to some degree, but definitely not to the degree that I feel like people are ascribing to it. Like there was a decent number of people who were convinced Meghan was winning no matter what because she was like rootable or something. And I was just like, nope.
Nope.
Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Just because they're the most rootable doesn't mean they're going to win. Not every good person wins Survivor.
It's also just like, and nobody, the people on this show are playing in something that is designed to turn you into a bad person. You know, like the goal of the game is to vote off all the other people. Like fundamentally, it is a game about exclusion. It is a game about like it's a reality TV show, and so there's so many comments there. Like I can't believe how cocky these people are. It's like they're doing this for fun though. Like they're filming the confessionals. They're gonna be cocky. That's kind of why they're doing it. You know, to a degree. That and like the competitive aspect of it. In Survivor, you can be a worse version of yourself, and in some ways, it actually kind of amplifies the worst traits about people. I think in a lot of ways, um, and so like yeah, I don't know. A lot of this is Michigan also is just messy, and that's why I think it's good. I think it's entertaining because it's just a mess.
Yeah, nobody. If people were nice to each other, people would be saying, "Oh, everyone here is too nice. Like nobody here wants to bring like good entertainment."
Yeah, that's my problem with CBS nowadays. I think the new CBS seasons, people are just too nice.
Yeah, everyone's aware of their edits. Like nobody.
Right,
I miss the
right.
days when people would just walk into a cast room and just look at each other. It's like, so who's the bitch of the season?
Have you watched Outlast on Netflix?
No, what's that?
Okay, you should definitely watch this. Cooper and I binged it in like a night a few weeks back. It's like kind of Survivor-esque, but basically it's like 16 people in the Alaskan wilderness and they start in teams and they have to the last team standing wins the money, but you can switch teams at any time and there's no like voting out. The only way people leave the game is by choosing to leave. So very, very quickly it devolves into like this Lord of the Flies-esque thing where they're like being as mean as possible to each other to try and get each other to leave the game. It is massively entertaining. Massively entertaining.
Oh,
I would highly recommend it
I'll
for
say we
anybody who
have
likes
it.
good TV.
I'll say we have it. I don't know if it's on like the Irish Netflix or if it's just like on the state ones. But I'm sure I can find it somewhere online.
Yeah, yeah. I would never advocate for that sort of thing, but yeah, I'm sure you can find it online.
Yeah, I mean that's how I watched Survivor. I had to look for some dodgy website.
So what else? What other questions you got for me about the season as it is?
Yeah, we were going on. You were going on saying how Survivor does bring out the worst side of people, and we do see that a lot with everyone this cast. I think it's fair to say. I think one of the questions in the end of the episode doc where it's like who played the best game, I was looking at it's like where's the no one option? No one here played a good game this episode.
Leia did. I think Leia played this week well. Everybody else played it in somewhere in the range of messy to really, really, really messy to bad. I think Leia played this week well. I think nobody else was making total sense, honestly.
Yeah, once again, Leia got somebody not on her list.
Right. So,
As much as she is
but
an
she did want
huge,
Cooper out most of the week. So,
which was surprising.
right. Like, I thought that was a little underrated. Like, what do we think of like Leia finally just turning on Cooper and blaming Cooper for like, is that not like she's saying it's all Cooper's fault that now she's going against him, which seems a little, I don't know. How did you feel about that? Do you feel like it was Cooper's fault that this is happening?
No, it was bound to happen. She knows Cooper. Like, how did she not expect this? I know, maybe in her delusional world, this makes sense for her. It's like she needed a reason to turn on Cooper. She always wanted to turn on Cooper. She just needed a reason to where she doesn't look like the bad guy.
I think there's something to that. I think that Cooper and Leia's survivor relationship is fundamentally unworkable at its core. Like the idea that Cooper and Leia could ever really go to the end together, I just don't see how they would ever trust each other to do it. And how they wouldn't both think the other one they would never take each other to the end because they'd be afraid the other one would beat them, you know, as well.
Yeah, and
I think there's nobody that Cooper and Leia would like to lose to less than to each other. And the idea that they would take that ultimately any alliance between the two of them is bound to eventually devolve into petty squabbling and mistrust.
so if you want to play Survivor with your best friend, go right ahead.
Yeah. I think some of it comes out of season one as well. Like Cooper always blamed Leia somewhat that she chose Mitch over him in season one. And we see here Leia's explaining that like she doesn't see it the same way that he does, but that distrust is fundamental, and it carries them even into All Stars. You know, that the seed of mistrust that at some point, you know.
Yeah. I feel like both of them are just kind of like refusing to listen to the other's reason and just like, no, the way I believe is fact. It's like
Definitely.
Cooper blames Leia for him ending his game. He also blames Akshay for him ending his game. He also blames his roommates for ending his game. It seems like Cooper cannot accept responsibility at this
I like the
moment.
take. I like that take. Well, there's a lot of nuance, weirdly enough, because you know Cooper, Cooper and Leia have a conversation. Leia tells him about the Girls Alliance. Cooper believes that was that's a slip up, and that Leia didn't mean to tell him about it, right? And so when he tells Sam and Adam and everybody about the Girls Alliance, he believes he's turning on Leia for a justified reason. But from Leia's point of view, she believes that she told Cooper this on purpose, and that she was telling him about it so that he wouldn't be concerned about it. And the idea that he weaponized it, both of them basically seeing the absolute worst in the other one. Leia believes that Cooper intentionally weaponizes information against her, knowing that it was fake. Like Leia thinks that Cooper manipulated this information, knowing that like Leia didn't, that Leia told him it on purpose, that he lied and told everybody it was a mistake. But Cooper believes that it was a mistake that Leia told him, but doesn't believe her that she wasn't going to turn on him. So they both are seeing the absolute worst side of each other, and neither one of them like is really willing to give each other the time of day, which I think is kind of interesting.
I feel like if Leia and Cooper just do what Leia and Sam did and just sit with each other and talk, then they'd be like, oh, okay, so this is just a huge, big misunderstanding. I
Maybe,
also
but
kind
I
of
don't
like,
know if they're capable of. I don't know if they're capable of having that kind of conversation the way that Leia
they're
and Sam
too
are.
stubborn.
They are too stubborn. Yeah.
They're both too, now, this is probably going to seem rude, but I'm going to say that. They're both too arrogant and self absorbed with each other to just talk it out and accept that, okay, maybe it's just a bit of miscommunication.
I mean, to a degree, yeah, I think it is partially that they both are. They have two of the more massive egos in all of uh, College Survivor. I would say, I mean, Cooper and Leia.
I mean, the two are getting an episode title named after them next episode, which, well, they'll have to get in line because Will has two of those. I also like how in the Discord everyone's being like, this whole episode's going to be all Leia versus Cooper, and it's going to be someone like Bree who goes home.
We'll have to see. What do you think? What do you think? Who do you think's going home next?
Honestly, I do think that's something like that's going to happen. It's not going to be Leia or Cooper because it kind of happened with the Will versus Ben situation. It was like Will versus Ben, but neither of them go home. It was
Will versus
Jesse of
Kevin,
all
though.
people.
Will went home and Will versus Kevin.
That's different. That's Kevin involved.
So
Logic doesn't follow when Kevin is involved.
Kevin's like he's like a temporal anomaly, you know. The rules don't. He's Desmond Hume. The rules don't apply to him.
Yeah, if it's involved with Kevin, time and space doesn't make sense. Gravity is upside down. Um, Leia's list doesn't exist. Like, just the unthinkable will happen. And what was it? I was going to say something. I do this every time. I think of something and then I immediately forget it. Oh yeah, I was going to mention how Cooper thinking Leia slipped up is kind of a callback to all the way back in episode 2 to where Cooper thinks Tom slipped up by saying Sam's name and being
Right.
like, you said Sam, meaning it's Emily, who actually did this when he was just telling the truth.
Yeah. Cooper definitely, once he has a certain view of something, he is not willing to change his mind about it, you know?
Yeah, which most likely will come to bite him at some point in the season. The weird thing is he does look like he's kind of winning, but I don't remember who said this. I don't know if it was during the draft or during one of the after shows where somebody says if Cooper wins the season, you wouldn't have edited it. So I kind of just
You think?
I'm kind of believing like, okay, if Cooper does win, there's no way one, Ian would edit this season. Two, he'd try to make Cooper look so bad. Well, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd be a great
So
friend and be like,
who do you think is gonna win?
see, this is difficult because all of them are kind of doing bad to where I can see them all losing at the end, but somebody has to win. It's kind of tight. I feel like it's either Sam or Bailey winning, with maybe Adam, but I feel like Adam pissed off so many people. I feel like
Interesting.
it's one of those three. I feel like Cooper's too obvious. Leia's 100% not winning. If she somehow wins, ugh, that'd be one of the worst winners ever. Bree's not winning because she's has not done shit this season. And who am I forgetting? Oh, Andrew's not winning because there's too much foreshadowing of him being built, him building himself up to have just a huge fall. So I feel like it could be Bailey or Sam. I could. I think Adam has played a great game. I think he just has piss poor jury management. But to be fair, so does everyone in this cast. Nobody knows what a jury is in this situation.
I guess we'll have to see. I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, and now that I have you on, we're not getting any results in this Pringle Idol. we thought
There's only 3 episodes left, so we'll have to find out eventually, right?
I'm really hope. Part of me is really hoping that we never know which one is real.
I mean, that would just be I would not do that. I feel like that would just be the troll to end all trolls. Like, what would be the point of that from a narrative
I
standpoint?
I don't know. Just to keep the audience guessing and be like, I guess we'll never know who had the real Pringle
I,
Idol.
I honestly don't blame people that are annoyed with the Pringle Idol thing. It's literally been, what is it now? How many episode 3 it was introduced, and we're on episode 13. So 10
10
episodes,
episodes.
10 episodes of just a complete mystery.
I'm surprised you didn't do your like little editing trick where you go like zoom in on their face and be like, "Are they going to play the idol?" And then it's like, "No," because I noticed you really like doing that.
I do like, I have certain tricks, but you like to keep people on their toes. You don't do the same gag twice. You do a different gag.
Yeah. I
So
mean, you have done this like 3 times, not in this season, but just like in your career.
that's possible. There's definitely been, I'm sure there have been some edits that have been done multiple times by me at this point.
Yeah.
The other one is like showing votes when somebody's about to play an idol thing. That
Oh, I
also has
hate when that happens.
happened.
Only because when I'm editing the episodes for for my tribal council videos, it's just like, oh, for God's sake, stop flashing out of when the vote's being read. It gets annoying to cut. That's only for my own personal selfish reasons.
Apologies.
You're not the only Survivor editor that does it. Don't worry. Oh, there was one other. Oh yeah, I also really liked it. Back to the Emily vote off when it was like an entire music scene for the ending. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
while Emily's being cut off, it's just like some music was playing, like the war is about to begin.
Hmm. Yeah. That's Emily B's theme music. If you go back and rewatch this season, you'll see lots and lots of Emily B scenes that include that music, all leading up to
Oh,
her tragic blindside. Uh, so yeah, I will say that along with the cliffhanger ending, which was the number 2 most controversial editing choice in the like, what should I call them, the test screenings. The number 1 editing choice that the test screeners hated the most was the like anime Attack on Titan intro to episode 12. People, they were like, they
why
didn't
would they
like,
hate that?
oh, they hated it. They were like, they were begging me up until like the day of, like, don't, just take it out. Don't put this in. I was like,
What's
it's thematic. They were like, if you don't watch Attack on Titan, you have no idea what it is. I was like, if you watch Attack on Titan, then you'll get the joke. If you haven't watched it, then you'll still get it. That it's like, oh, it's the shit's about to go down. It's war now. Like, like, this is serious business. This isn't your daddy's Survivor. Like, now playtime is
this isn't your
over.
this isn't your swag dad Survivor.
Yeah, like, playtime is over. This isn't some season 4 goofy shit. Like, this is the real business.
Now, coming from someone who has not seen Attack on Titans, it was a good choice to keep it in.
Thank you.
I eventually did recognize it was Attack on Titans, but I didn't know it straight off the gate because I don't watch that. I just
Yeah.
didn't get into it.
Oh, I
I
see
watch
this
other
comment
anime.
about how much I like Attack on Titan. Honestly, this season, like, you can find out a lot about my tastes in like movies and TV shows based just on the things that have been referenced in this season. Like, the trailers
Really?
had like Star Wars music. The Attack on
Uh,
Titan music keeps getting used. There's some other stuff that's been used a bunch that are neither of those things.
I feel like
Kids
there
Next
should be a
Door
reference video.
references, the Kids Next Door
Yeah.
references, the Ocean's 11, Bailey's 8 references. Like, it goes on and on. There's lots and lots of shit like that. Mission Impossible music got used for Lucy. There's been a million things like that in the season.
You're helping me with my theme music video where I give everyone a different song.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every player has their own theme music on the show. Some of them have just been more obvious than others, you know?
Huh. I would ask what is everybody's, but I feel like that'd be way too long to list. So maybe,
I feel like after the season, I feel like
yeah, like after the
yeah,
season we can get like something.
yeah, we can go into that after the season, but everybody does have one.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll match with my video. No, they won't.
Emily B's was the Attack on Titan Barricade song.
I kind of want to now go back and listen to people's background music to see if I recognize any.
There's a few that are particularly like Crouch. The one that's for Crouch, I feel like is particularly noticeable if you started listening to it. Like in a lot of Crouch scenes, it comes in. Um, there's some other people. Kevin had a pretty noticeable one. Other than that, a few of them are just too many spoilers. Too much spoilers to say.
Their music is spoiler to their outcome.
Some people, maybe, you don't know. Anything could be a spoiler.
Yeah, because people in the Discord were going off saying how, you know, the little intro bits that everyone does where it's like a cut to their past season?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people are arguing, it's like, oh, Adam's one is a spoiler that he is Sam's puppet because he says, bitch, I'm no puppet. I'm like, no, that's just something he said in season 4. But why would they pick that if it's supposed to be iconic moments? Because Adam didn't last long enough to have one.
So what's this theory again?
It's like Adam is going to go down trying to not be Sam's puppet, but he's ultimately going to go home because it's like he's going to try and not be Sam's puppet, but that's going to be where he goes home.
But like, what does it have to do with the intro quotes?
I don't know. People are just looking for any reason to make sense of this season.
Interesting. So what is the idea that the intro quotes like mean something?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of foreshadow. They're having like foreshadowing moments,
Oh, that's
and I was
interesting.
just like, yeah, and I was just like messaging people, being like, okay, then explain literally anyone else's.
Are you so sure that there aren't any of those that do line up?
Well, out of it, how many people have been voted off so far? There's 7
There's only
left.
7 left, so
14
presumably
people have been voted
you could
off.
have 14 of those and see if any of them
They don't match.
match up. So you think they don't, so you discount this theory.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exist because it literally doesn't match anyone that's been voted off so far. What,
Interesting.
does
Interesting.
Bailey actually sleep with somebody on her tribe then get voted off?
No comment. No comment. I'll
She's,
address this theory after the show.
she sleeps with
I have
production and
I
that's how
have for
she's
the
voted
record
off.
seen this theory, and I think it is somewhat interesting, but I will not comment on it until after the show is over.
Yeah. Lucy, I can survive on an island. I just can't survive on a 3-person tribe. So let's also mention the 8th place curse.
That's
Well, not
right.
the 8th place curse.
It's the
Megan's
eighth
the
place
second.
prophecy, the Akshay prophecy of eighth.
Yeah, somebody on this tribe is going to get 8th, and then everyone on the tribe got a vote to potentially be 8th.
I will say that it was really funny to me in the 2 weeks before this episode. Most of the comments and stuff, there was a lot of people that were talking about this 8th place curse, but they were like, so Sam or Adam must go home next because it obviously isn't Megan. And I was like, this seems like I don't know if anyone has talked about this yet, but the very last clip of the episode is Jackson from season 4 saying
8th place?
eighth
8th
place,
place?
eighth
That's
place, shit,
shit.
which is a clip from season 4 that was at the end of Megan's boot episode in that season also. So the 8th place setup for Megan has been there since the very beginning. And I
Do you
feel
want to
like
know what?
people just didn't want to see it that's where it was headed. But I thought that it had been fairly well telegraphed, honestly, that Meghan might potentially get eighth place.
Do you want to know something funny as well? Megan got eighth place on her eighth tribal, getting her eighth vote while winning eight challenges in her Survivor career.
That's insane. That's insane. That's
So is
insane.
eight just her unlucky number at this point?
I don't know. I don't know, but there was definitely some weird muju with the eighth place curse. Like every person who got eighth place lost the first challenge, and every person there was yeah, and the eighth placers were all
Um,
in the same tribe. It was all connected. The eighth place was all connected. I don't know. It's some weird eighth place curse. I think that when Akshay got voted off, he actually cursed Pani that Pani members would all receive votes at eighth place.
and Cooper.
Yeah, but I mean, Cooper's vote doesn't count. That doesn't fit
Yeah,
the
I
narrative
really.
here.
Well,
It
it
would have
does
been
for the
hilarious
dog shit.
if Emily had taken out Cooper with an extra vote. That would have been so funny.
Yeah, I do. It does suck because Emily was like given not good advantages whenever she got them. No offense
I
to.
will say that this was actually cut out of the show because it never had any impact. But the right of revenge, there was actually a second advantage that went with it that let
Ooh,
you, um, it allowed you in any challenge to disadvantage somebody.
ah,
But because she never used it, I was just like, we're cutting this. It's like whatever. It never gets brought up. So
yeah,
the Raider Avengers actually like two different advantages. It was this like vote after the you're out thing, and it was also you could disadvantage somebody in a challenge. But because she never used that part of it, I was just like, we can cut this out of the show. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't make the advantage that much better, but it makes it slightly better, I guess, because it was two things.
yeah.
I
I
Raider Revenge is a bad advantage and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I was saying, I said when it was introduced, I feel like if she got to vote at tribal rather than the second she got voted off, it could have had some merit because I asked her who she would have voted for had she got to vote at the tribal. She said she would have voted for Adam, and if that was the case, it would have been a tie between Megan and Adam.
Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it kind of seems like you should be able to vote based off who gets immunity for sure.
Yeah, because
But
I had the feel,
it's a goofy mechanic no matter what, to be fair.
yeah, like a jury member voting after they're voted off. It's kind of like a good idea in theory.
I like the concept behind it of like it being a threat, but I honestly almost think it would make more sense later in the game as an advantage. Like an advantage near the end at like final 6 or 5, when like the numbers really matter and an extra vote against you could actually be a big deal.
Yeah. Or be like, you can cast two votes as a jury member.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting also actually.
Yeah, you can.
That'd be kind of OP, I think. Two
Yeah, it's
jury
like
votes, that's a lot.
it's like final two, 8 member jury. One jury member has two votes.
That's too many votes. A jury getting 2 votes, I don't like that. That's OP.
I, I mean, I seen the twist, and it didn't have an effect on the winner. But
Anything else? What else? Anything else you want to know while you have me here that you've been wondering about?
who wins the season now? um, this always happens. I've had like 6 different questions before recording, and then we record, and I immediately forget all of them. I need to start writing them down. Oh, um, since Act Two is now over and we're now entering Act Three, what would you, how would you describe Act Two in general? Is it more just like the build up to Act Three? Is it the act that nobody cares about?
It's the middle chapter. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the series. It's character development, deepening the relationships, and a slow descent into hell, which is what Act Three is. Act Three is just absolutely bananas. Act Three is like what I would call positionless Survivor. Like you've heard of positionless basketball. Act Three is positionless Survivor. Um,
Oh yeah, we're like no one's on top, everyone's on the bottom,
it's just chaos.
and
It's just chaotic, and this episode is chaotic, and you should expect more chaos the next couple episodes. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean, a lot of people, the middle portion is always just setting up the conclusion, and so hopefully the conclusion satisfies people. But yeah, that's what I would say.
I would ask you who. Okay, if you can think back to 3 years ago, who, while watching as a member of production, were you thinking could win this?
At this point,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that's like somehow considered a spoiler necessarily, honestly.
yeah. I'm trying to think, ask opinion questions that don't lead to spoilers.
I'll tell you that there are some people who are, I feel like the audience does not have the best read of the jury currently. Like, I think that the jury was a lot more open to pretty much anybody than people might have expected. Like, this jury was actually very, very like open to just, it was in a certain sense, it was like strangely unbitter. To there was definitely people who were bitter, but as a collective, I feel like they were very open to the idea of like, we want to take this very seriously and like really have the winner represent all stars, and like we're gonna listen to what they have to say, and we could be persuaded by like any potential pitch. Like, I know at this
Uh,
point there was nobody in the game that the jury felt was drawing dead and had no chance to win. All 7 people left, I think, could have won the game from this point on, depending on what they did
oh,
from here to the end.
that's interesting. Because, like you said, there's a lot of people that the audience believe are just like, Goat, not going to get a single vote. No one's going to vote for Leia. No one's going to vote for Adam. No one's going to vote for Bree. That's really
Right.
it.
I'm telling you that all 3 of those people have winning scenarios from this point to the end. So I don't know which scenario pans out, but I think that any of these 7 people left had a scenario where they could have won the game.
Yeah, because I said this earlier. I do see Adam winning. It's just whether the jury will not be pissed off at him. I can weirdly see Leia winning, which I really hope she doesn't. No offense, but I feel like that would really bring down the season. In my opinion, just because she's kind of irritating. I really don't see a world, though, where Brie wins. Unless she has, like, that many friends on the jury. But I
No
don't really see
comment.
any jury. I don't see a
There's still a
jury.
lot of game left to play, and I do think that a lot of juries also, at least in Survivor Michigan experience, very heavily weigh the end game in like their final vote. So
Yeah, not everyone is an Emily Paddock where it's just like, I don't want to vote for a Sabu Sabu person, so I'll just vote the other one.
right, this was different than that. Like, this was like a lot of people on this jury were pretty open to voting for a number of different people, depending on how it shook out.
So Bailey's not on the jury then.
I'm
So that means she makes final.
not going to say that there are no bitter people on the jury, but like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
I mean, bitterness can actually even play into a game because, well, you didn't have a good enough relationship with this person, so why would you vote for them?
Yeah, no, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it's like, am I going to vote for someone that screwed me over or someone I've never talked to?
We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out, I guess.
And another thing I'm excited for that you mentioned is this alleged vote count that's apparently never been seen in Survivor history.
I believe that to be the case. We'll see if I have to eat, whatever, eat crow, and I've been lying about that. But
I mean,
I
I
think
I
it's the
sent
case. I think
I
it's the
sent you the
case.
Google Doc. I sent you the Google document with all the vote counts. You said you
Yeah,
didn't see it there.
it was not on your Google Doc that I could see. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see when that happens.
So many things are flowing through my head. Is like, is it somehow somebody goes home just getting 2 votes? Or something like everyone gets a vote and there's like people are predicting Rocks at 6 now.
I don't
It's like
know.
you can't make sense of this season. Uh
I think this
oh,
jury. I think this jury delivers. I think this jury delivers in spades. Yeah, I think there's a few jury speeches that, to me, there are a few jury speeches that actually, like, I would almost consider them like character arc resolutions for certain people on the jury. who to me,
Kevin.
their story of Survivor Michigan doesn't fully end until they're on the jury and get to speak their mind about certain things. So I'm not gonna say these people are, but I felt the jury really really brought it and uh, understood the assignment, so to speak. So
I mean, Kevin's on the jury. We can expect him to either have a real moment or be character Kevin moment where he just tells everyone that they played a terrible game and none of them deserve to win.
we'll have to see. We've definitely got some firecrackers on this jury, you know. So uh,
Yeah, I
it's
can see Sarah getting it into people. I'm hoping Lucy just goes off on someone. It's like, now I'm in this position now. Y'all didn't vote for me. Well, that's only if Sam makes it to the end. Or Brie. And
Lucy.
Brie.
Lucy fully embraces her role as the queen of the jury. Let's just put it like that. So I think people can look forward to some good Lucy moments in the finale.
I mean, oh, fuck, I thought of something and I immediately forgot it again. Jury. Sorry, mind went blank. So I guess that's everything. Do you want to give us any like little hints to what's to look forward to other than the unpredictableness?
I mean, I hope people are satisfied by it. I hope that they enjoy it. And ultimately, I've always felt that like any good, I'll say this on the last after show as well. I've always felt that any good ending, which this is the ending of 5 seasons, I thought that any good ending should do three things. Should make people laugh and cry. And I want people to, when they watch it, I want them to laugh, I want them to cry, and I want them to, wish that it wasn't ending. And that's ultimately what any good ending should do. It should leave you wanting more and being glad that it happened at the same time. So
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we just want a satisfying, good result to the story that is Survivor Michigan.
I feel like we
And
get that, but I also think it will be controversial. I think that this season is controversial, and so I feel like it's inevitable that the ending will be controversial as well. I don't think it'll be like every single person loves the winner. I think some people will love the winner, and some people will wish it had been someone else who is in there potentially.
yeah, I mean, no one's going to be happy with the winner because it's not Meghan.
But I've been working on the finale quite a bit. It's close to done. There's still some scenes that need to be tweaked out, but the last like 10 minutes or so have been locked in for quite some time, and I feel very strong about the last 10 minutes of Survivor Michigan.
Ooh, this is actually what I kind of want to ask you. You know who wins the season. Would you have voted for that person to win if you were on the jury?
That's a very interesting question. I don't know if I want to answer that until after the season.
Ooh, so it could give spoilers.
But I think that's very interesting. I think I think that there were I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say anything, honestly. I don't know if I want to say anything.
I like to think now that it is Cooper, and it's like, Cooper did play an amazing game, but I don't want to vote for him because I just don't want him to feed his ego.
I kind of felt that my feelings on it at the time actually are slightly different than they are now. And that's all I'm going to say about it, I think.
Okay, so that could be a positive to negative, negative to positive, neutral to, oh, now I can see why.
Who knows? There's some arguments that people, there's certain arguments you see at a time. And then once I've watched all the footage, and I see everyone's point of view, I understand other arguments in a different way than I did before, is one way of putting it, I think.
Well, thanks Ian for coming on. Sorry for all my blank questions.
No worries. Great.
Thanks. What were you
Yeah.
gonna say?
No, great to be here. Thanks for having me as always.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want to watch more Michigan Contact, watch the season. I promise it's good. I know people are complaining, but we complain about it because we love it.
It is good. It's very good. You will never see another Survivor season like this. I think when it's all said and done, people look back on it and they'll realize how unique it was and how different it was from anything else you're likely to see.
Yeah, watch like this time next year. We're gonna binge watch the entire season. And be like, you know what? All was there.
If nothing else, it's had a lot of lively discussion. It
Yeah,
was never
and
boring. No one could ever accuse it of being that.
that's it was never boring. Were there frustrating moments? Of obviously it's Survivor season. There's not going to be every moment where everyone's going to do something great. This episode, for example, I'm going to say this till I'm going to say this to the end. No one played good this episode.
Leia played good. Leia played well in this episode. She manipulated everybody, but nobody else was playing particularly well. I agree.
Yeah, okay. With the exception of Leia, everyone played terrible, which
we'll
is
have to
something I
see. We'll have to see if that continues next week.
yeah. Will everyone continue to play terrible? I think so, but what is good gameplay? No one actually knows.
Yeah, there's no there's no hard and fast rule about it, right?
Yeah, no, you could play literally no game and you could still win because the jury liked you more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Alrighty. Thank you for
See
having me,
you.
and hope you enjoy the rest of the last 3 episodes of Survivor Michigan All Stars.
Thanks and good luck to finishing the season.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let you go back into hiding.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.